Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, I show you the easiest way to use Adobe Illustrator to draw any garment that you want, totally from scratch. So let's go. Step 1 is to pull out a physical sketchbook and start drawing whatever garment you want to design. For this video, I'm going to create a sketch of a dress. I'm just using an ordinary sketchbook and a regular pencil, guys. You don't need any specific stationery or anything for this. I'm making sure to start out really lightly with my initial dress outlines and then moving on to create some pretty dark final outlines. And at the end, I'm left with what you can see is an asymmetrical dress with bishop sleeves and some additional gathered fabric detailing. Now, step 2 is to take a picture of this drawing on your phone and send it to your laptop. And step 3 is to open Adobe Illustrator and import this picture into it. Click on New File and under New Document, I'm going to go to Print, View All Presets, choose A3, and up here you can rename your file. I'm just going to call it Digitalizing the Dress. I'm also changing my page orientation to landscape, and that's it. So let's hit create. And we have a nice clean artboard ready for us. Now find the picture of your dress that you have sent to your laptop and simply drag and drop it into Adobe Illustrator. Once done, make sure to come up here and click Embed. And step 4 is to digitalize the dress. So let's start by going to the Layers panel. And on clicking it, you can see that the picture has automatically been placed on Layer 1. Here you can see a small preview of all the objects that will be in Layer 1. Now with Layer 1 highlighted, I'm going to come up here to Opacity and reduce it to about 50%. But why am I doing this? Because I'm going to use this picture as a template below for me to draw my digital dress over. I'm additionally going to come back to this space here and simply click. And you can see a lock icon has appeared. This lock icon will lock the items in layer 1 in place so that if I create more layers over this layer, my mouse will not accidentally touch this layer and move it around because it is now locked. So come down to this plus icon here, and this is how we create a new layer. You can see that layer 2 has now automatically appeared right over layer 1. Just to give us a little more clarity on what lies on which layer, I'm going to further double click each layer and rename it. Layer 1 is now renamed to template because that is where our picture lies. And for layer 2 above, I'm going to name it outlines because the outlines are what we are going to start drawing first. Now, in order to start drawing the outlines, make sure that the outlines layer itself is selected. And then let's go ahead and close the layers panel. Now hit P on your keyboard to get the pen tool, or you can select the pen tool icon on the toolbar on the left, which looks like this. And since we are just drawing a black outline, I'm coming up here to fill and selecting none, and under stroke, I'm selecting black. If you guys are new to the pen tool and do not know how to use it, I'm linking a tutorial above for you to check out. Now back on the artboard. Our pen tool is now ready to use, so let's start at the HPS and first complete the left half only of the upper bodice using the template below as a guide. Keep going. Now you just saw me draw a longer line than I was meant to draw, longer than what my template below shows. So very often you will see illustrators drawing longer lines in this manner because there is a super easy way to come back later and clean up the extra lines perfectly. So for now, go ahead, be a little messy and draw out longer lines than needed like this. If you are able to get them perfectly already, then that is fine as well. Okay, I'm going to stop with just drawing this much for now. Then I'm going to highlight everything, and here is how I'm going to perfectly clear up these extra lines. Select the Shape Builder tool here, then come up to the lines that are extending more than they need to. Hover over them and hold down the Option key on MacBook or the Alt key on Windows until you see a minus sign appear next to the arrow icon like this. Then simply click on the line. And as you can see, Adobe Illustrator has perfectly removed that line in the correct spot. I'm doing the same thing for the other lines at the waistband. And just like that, all lines have ended perfectly. Now let's move to the sleeves and draw in the ruffled detail like so. Once again, extending the lines out more than I should, because let's say that I simply do not have the time to zoom in and slowly make sure that every line touches the other line perfectly. Let's also draw in the inner details of the ruffle. Then once again, select the Shape Builder tool and remove any excess lines by holding down Option. I'm then moving to draw my bishop sleeves, followed by a bit of the lower bodice as well. Okay guys, I'm actually gonna stop here now, group everything that I have drawn so far by highlighting it all and hitting Command G on my keyboard. Now grouping items is awesome because this will allow me to move all these items together from one part of my artboard to another if I click anywhere on this group. In this case, I'm highlighting my group and then making a copy of it all by using the shortcuts Command C and Command F. This will place a copy exactly over the original. Now right-click the copy, go to Transform and Reflect. Make sure vertical is selected and hit OK. Now simply drag the copy to the right side. To ensure proper alignment, hold down Shift while dragging so that it moves in a perfectly straight line towards the right. And you will have something that looks like this. Now, remember the Shape Builder tool that I used before to remove excess lines? Just go ahead and use it again to remove any unwanted lines. So like before, hover over the unwanted line, hold down Option until you see a minus symbol appear and simply click and the line will disappear. In this super efficient way, I have removed all the unwanted lines perfectly within seconds. And finally, our upper bodice is almost ready. Let's now go draw the bottom half of the dress again with the pen tool. I'm also going to draw pleats and fold lines like so. Now as the basics of the garment are almost done, let's zoom out and see if any corrections need to be made. And I feel like I should correct the sleeve cuffs a bit, so I'm going to go quickly do that. And yup, this looks much better to me. So there is one last main detail to draw, and that is the bow on the waistband. Just to make things a bit easy for me, because there are already so many existing lines running in the area where the bow should fall, I'm going to first draw the bow separately here on the side. The bow looks like this, and I'm using the Shape Builder tool again to remove any excess lines. Also draw in the fold lines. And then group everything together. Now that the bow is done, let's move it to the dress's waistband. So at this point, I no longer need my original template because actually it's sort of starting to add a bit of confusion while drawing. So I'm going to open up my layers panel and turn the visibility of this template layer completely off by clicking the eye icon. Now back to the bow. As you guys can see, the lines of the garment underneath are showing through the bow. And I think you guys know exactly how I'm going to fix this. I'm going to use the Shape Builder tool again, hold down Option over any unnecessary lines, and clear up the bow detailing in that manner. And we did it, guys. The main outlines are done. Let's quickly resize the artboard for some convenience while drawing by clicking the artboard symbol here, and see these double-ended arrows appearing at the artboard sides and corners? Click and drag them to resize your artboard. Now, as a final touch to my outlines, I'm going to select my Group Selection tool. and highlight the pleats and fold lines in my garment. And then I'm going to change the variable width profile for these lines. Let me show you how. With these 3 lines selected, come up here to the variable width profile panel, and in the drop down menu, select variable width profile 4, which will basically change your lines to having a thick edge at one end and a tapered edge at the other, as you can see. I'm going to do the exact same thing for these lines as well. And do it for these lines too. Now you can see that the tapering of the lines has been reversed for these lines. In this case, what do? I'm going to highlight them, then open up the stroke panel on the right. And here where you can see the variable width profile that you chose, you can also see a button on the right called Flip Along. Click that and we are good to go. Now let's move to the fold lines on the bow. So I'm going to use another variable width profile here, and it's called width profile 1. And as you can see, width profile 1 will make your lines thick at the center and tapered towards both ends. Width profile 1 is perfect for any open-ended fold lines like this, which are not touching a seam or a line. And for the rest of the lines on the bow, let's use width profile 4. Now let's do the same thing for the fold lines on the bishop sleeves. Awesome. Now let's go to the ruffled hemline where there are a lot of fold lines. I'm going to first select the shortest lines that are touching the seam. Then reduce the width of the stroke by coming up here and changing it from 1 to 0.5. And then I'm going to change them to width profile 4. I'm then selecting the open-ended lines that are not touching any seam, and as usual, change them to width profile 1. And all remaining lines that are touching the seam again go back to width profile 4. Finally, your ruffle should look like this. Let's zoom out and check everything, and yup, it's looking good so far. I'm going to complete the outlines by adding in fold lines at the waistband and some general lines like this, changing the width profile for these as well. Also add any inner seam lines at the sleeves and at the neck. And the outlines are done. Now let's create a third layer, drag and drop it to place it beneath the outlines layer and rename it to shadows because that is what we are going to add next. Also make sure your outlines layer is locked. Once again, select the shadows layer just to make sure that you are drawing on the correct layer, and then close the layers panel. Now come up here to fill and choose a gray shade. Also remove any stroke. Then hit P on your keyboard to once again bring up the pen tool, and let's get to shading the inner parts of the dress first, starting with this cuff. Now you can see that anything I draw falls below the black outline that we previously drew. And this is because in the layers panel, the shadow layer is placed below the outline layer. In a similar manner, fill in the underside of the sleeve ruffle, also do the inner side of the bodice itself, and go on in this manner. Now that the inner areas are done, I'm also adding shadows to the fabric folds like so. Not for every single one, but do it for most of them. For any protruding garment features like this bow, add a shadow below or adjacent to it as well. Up here, I'm adding a darker shadow to this shadow to highlight any bulky inner seams. Now also do the main bodice folds, guys, and also add shadows to the ruffle at the hem. You guys can see that all throughout I'm using different shades of grays as well. Just add enough shadow to make the garment look a bit three-dimensional. And finally, you should have something that looks like this. Now, create a new fourth layer called Stitch Lines and place it right on top in the Layers panel. And let's start adding stitches to our garment. Zoom in to start at the very top at the neck. Hit P for the pen tool like always Then draw a line like so. But since stitch lines are much more thinner, I'm going to come up here to the stroke width and reduce it to 0.3. Also open up the stroke panel on the right, and down here, I'm going to click on dashed line. Now when you do this, you will see that the highlighted line at the neck has turned into dashes and gaps. But right now the dash is pretty wide for a stitch line and the gap is even more wide. So in the settings below, let's adjust the width of both. Let's make the dash 1 and the gap 0.5. And that's it, guys. Just like that, the stitch line looks pretty realistic. I'm gonna go ahead and add the same stitch line to different areas of my garment that needs them. Now add the ruffled panel at the hem. It's going to be extremely time consuming if I try to zoom in and start drawing in stitch lines for each ruffle's edge. So I'm going to first come to my layers panel, unlock the outlines layer, then with my group selection tool, copy and paste all the outlines like this and move the copy towards the right. Then with my direct selection tool, I'm going to highlight just the fold lines above and delete them until all I have left are the bottommost lines that form my hemline. Then with the selection tool, highlight and group everything together. Now what I'm going to do is select the eyedropper tool and click on any previous stitch line that I created. The eyedropper tool will allow any highlighted line to change into anything that it touches. And since I just touched the stitch line on the waistband, this has now turned into a stitch line too. I'm going to move it and place it on the ruffled panel like this. Let me zoom in so you guys can see better. And that's it. The stitch lines are all done very quickly. So this is what your entire sketch should look like if it is a black and white garment, guys. Let's leave the black and white version on this artboard, and I'm going to additionally show you how you can add a repeat pattern to this garment as well as some solid color. But first, let's create a new artboard by clicking the artboard symbol on the right here, then click the plus icon and artboard 2 has now appeared. I'm going to unlock just the outlines and the stitch lines layer, highlighting them and make a copy that I can bring over to my new artboard. Then go back and lock those layers and create a new layer called colors and place it over the shadow layer. I'm additionally creating one more artboard so that I can show you guys how to create a simple, easy repeat pattern. And on this artboard, with the pencil tool this time, I'm gonna pick maybe a yellow color fill and then freehand a simple flower petal like this. Then hit Command C and Command V on your keyboard and make copies of the petals and arrange them like so. Let's also maybe change the colors of a few petals to different shades of yellow like this. Give it a contrast center, and now with the group selection tool, I'm going to highlight just the yellow petals, make a copy and bring them to the side like so. I'm then removing the yellow fill, giving them a black stroke, and then with the direct selection tool, I'm just highlighting the anchor points that are towards the center of the flower and clicking delete. So I'm left with this sort of outline of the petals. I'm going to highlight these black lines, come up to my variable width profile and choose width profile 1. Then move it back onto the petals and maybe let's increase the stroke width to 4. Also do the same thing for the inner red part of the flower, except I'm going to use variable width profile 2 for the outline. And we have one basic flower ready, guys. I'm going to make a few more copies of this flower and change the color. And now that we have these flowers ready, let's go make an all over pattern or a repeat pattern with this. So here is how we do it. Illustrator has made it super easy today. First, highlight the items you want to make into a repeat pattern. Then come up here to Object, Pattern and Make. And you can see that in the swatch panel here, your new repeat pattern has appeared. Now hit OK and let's edit this pattern. Keep in mind that this square box is the swatch that will form your repeat. Okay, this looks too loud to me, so maybe let's reduce the flower size like this. Make a few more copies and add them to the side like this. Maybe pick out a few single flowers and put them like this. And as a final step, I'm also going to highlight everything in my square and reduce the opacity by 50%. And yep, I think this should be a cute repeat now. When you are ready, hit done. Now let's delete the artwork to make some space. Open up the swatches panel, select your new pattern swatch, then choose the rectangle tool and draw out a large shape on your artboard. And yup, we have a cute, simple repeat pattern that we can now add to our garment. So here is an easy way to add your patterns to your garment. I'm going to use this swatch itself to replicate onto different parts of my garment. So start by removing the stroke of the pattern. Then let's reduce the size to the size that you want to be on your dress. Now keep the swatch highlighted, select your pen tool, and start drawing the first front panel on the dress. And when your first panel is done, I'm going to slightly shift the AOP rectangle like so and start drawing the right side panel. Now the reason I shifted it is so that the second panel's artwork will not seamlessly fit in with the first panel's artwork, thereby giving the garment a very realistic look. Also draw in the inner neck area. Then once again, shift the rectangle AOP to another spot and start drawing in the skirt. When the skirt is done, I'm going to set my rectangle at a diagonal position like this to match my right sleeve. Then draw in the sleeve area, and you can see that the sleeve AOP is also tilted, making the dress look pretty realistic. For the left sleeve as well, tilt the rectangle in the same direction of the sleeve and start drawing. And this is it for the repeat, guys. Next, I'm going to open my layers panel and unlock the shadow layer and copy and paste all the shadows on my dress. Make sure the copy of your shadows is also grouped by hitting Command G. And now your shadows are properly placed as well. So if you want to add solid color to any parts of the garment, for example, let's make the waistband a light pink shade. Come here to the color picker square and double click it to open it up and select a nice pinky shade. Hit OK, and like always, hit P on your keyboard to bring up the pen tool and just draw out the areas that you want the pink color to fall. And that's it, guys, your waistband is now pink. As a final step to this entire video, I'm going to create one final layer at the very top called main outline. Then with a black stroke and with my stroke width set to 2, I'm going to draw one final outline of the entire dress like so. And when you are done, it will look like this. Now just take a step back, have a look and see if there is any more adjustments that you want to make. For me, this gray area seems a little bit too dark, so I'm going to select it and reduce the opacity to 50%. And we are done, guys. The dress now looks fine to me. So thank you for watching. If you have any doubts at all, leave them in the comments below and I will get back to you ASAP. See you guys next week.